farming techniques. In the next part of VTV News, Vietnam's tourism sector to return to growth thanks to visa exemption policy for 6 European countries. And then we discover the art of making Vietnamese classical tone drama masks, which reflects the spirit of the genre. This and more coming up.
Exotic Vietnam is an intriguing blend of many charms. This land is where all manner of stunning landscapes await like a visual feast, rivaled only by the beauty of its people and their abundantly rich tradition and culture. Here is where you can relive the past in richest color or live it up in the bright lights of the big city. With so much more to offer, Vietnam is simply unforgettable.
Now, starting this July, Vietnam is offering visa exemptions for single-entry visits of up to 15 days for visitors from Germany, France, the United Kingdom, Italy, Spain, and Belarus. The Ministry of Culture, Sports and Tourism proposed the exemptions for 5 among these 6 nations at a government meeting in May. This is part of the ministry's solution to develop the tourism sector. The Tourism Working Group of the Vietnam Business Forum, or VBF, also proposed the same thing at its midterm event in June. To give us an inside look at the policy, we have here today Mr. Kenneth Atkinson, head of the Tourism Working Group under the Vietnam Business Forum, and chairman of Grand Thornton, Vietnam. Thank you, Mr. Kenneth, for joining us today.
Thank you.
And first of all, based on your research, how do visa exemption policy promote the tourism sector in Vietnam?
Okay. Starting with the World Travel and Tourism Council, they have estimated in a report that visa facilitation in Vietnam could increase arrivals by 8 to 18%, which is obviously very significant. If we look at the current visa-exempt countries of Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, South Korea, Japan, and ex-Russia, we've seen significant increases in visitor arrivals last year, 5%, which is higher than the average increase last year. And in the first quarter this year, we've seen an increase of over 7%, whilst the industry as a whole, the arrivals have declined more than 11%.
So could you tell us about the tourism development using these exemptions in some of our neighboring countries and nations with a strong tourism industry?
So if you look at Thailand, which has suffered from some political issues, they had over 24 million tourist arrivals, visitor arrivals in 2014. They give exemption to 61 countries, but they also have a very easy visa on arrival system. Malaysia had 28 million foreign visitor arrivals in 2014. They give exemption to over 150 countries. Singapore, a small country with population 6 to 7 million, they had nearly 16 million foreign visitor arrivals, and they give exemption to over 150 countries.
So those are some impressive numbers. And so what are the expected figures for Vietnam thanks to the visa exemption policy?
Okay, so if you take the World Travel and Tourism Council figures and say 10% increase, the current numbers from those 5 visa-exempt countries is 800,000. So that will produce another 80,000 visitor arrivals. And that will bring in significant revenue for the country. If you take the current average stay of 11 days and the average spend of about just over $100 a day, that's going to bring in maybe another 90 million in revenue to Vietnam.
So it is likely to be some time before we see the effects of the visa policy, but hopefully it will help Vietnam's tourism sector return to growth. And thank you again, Mr. Kenneth Atkinson, for joining us today.